and welcome to the program. This is Vivica Williams, and you're watching Head to Head. On December 12th, Russian gas transit through Ukraine dropped by 23% in the wake of an explosion at Austria's Baumgarten gas hub. What followed was a Europe-wide crisis, states of emergency, soaring gas prices, from which the continent is still recovering. To talk with us today about the causes and consequences of this explosion is Karel Hirman, energy sector specialist to the Cabinet Ministries of Ukraine. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for the invitation.
So tell us, first of all, what was the cause of this explosion and how important was this hub?
This hub is very important because it is like crossroad of several transit pipelines in Central Europe. Baumgarten is on the Slovak and Austrian border, and from Baumgarten are going pipelines via Austria to Germany and France, and on the south to Balkan states like Slovenia and Croatia, and first of all to Italy, and Italy is the second biggest market for instance, Russian gas in EU. That's why Baumgarten is very, very crucial and very sensitive point of gas grid system in EU.
And what were the causes of this explosion? Are there any
finally,
concerns of terrorism? Or?
No. It was standard technical accidents, which we cannot predict, and unfortunately, all technical equipments has problems and could have problems with this security and balancing, especially in gas sector, because gas is very sensitive material for it. Unfortunately, this accident was in the winter period, which is very sensitive period for supplies and consumption of gas due to heating season. That's why all gas sector in Europe and customers, first of all in Italy, they were very nervous about the situation. But thanks to very professional work of Austrian experts, this hub was closed only several hours, and after 12 or 15 hours after accidents, this hub was open for transit of gas. That's why it was not very dramatic impact on situation in other countries.
But in a sense, it was had a dramatic impact on how the emotional issues,
more emotional, yes.
and also the fears here that this brought up. Were there any consequences, or what was learned from this issue?
Learn that I think there is more positive learn, because really gas sector and gas engineers showed that they have very good skills for how to repair this equipment after so big accident, because it was not a small accident. It was really blast on compressor station, or part of compressor station of this on Baumgarten. That's why it was very positive result. On second hand, of course, we have to. It is more argumentation or more example that we have to have diversification roads, more interconnectors between European countries and between national grid systems in EU, and we have to have diversification roads and suppliers of gas, and it is a really never-ending task for all gas sector in Europe.
And so what is Ukraine? This has been and we talk about diversifying transit systems, and Ukraine's gas transit system has for decades been an issue of concern. What's going on now with that? What's the progress on improving the transit system here even in Ukraine?
Ukraine has very huge transit system, And there is not only one pipeline. Ukraine has very good and strong position thanks to this several pipelines, 4 and more pipelines, big pipelines in Ukraine are part of a transit road between, for instance, the Russian border, Ukraine-Russian border, and Ukraine-Slovak border. Yes, that's why there is flexibility. For instance, after some accident, technical accident on one of these pipeline, Ukraine can very quickly change road on others pipeline and others roads for transit to Europe. It is very advantage for Ukraine gas system, transit system, and plus, if we have discussion now in Europe regarding, for instance, Nord Stream 2,
right,
which is like competitor for Ukraine and Slovak gas transit system, because Ukraine and Slovakia are one transit corridor, and next is Baumgarten, Austria, next point of this corridor. If we have discussion about it, we can show that if all capacities of transit Russian gas to Europe will go via Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2, it is problem because transit via one corridor is very dangerous.
Well, and also
not due to political, for instance, risk,
right,
but due to standard technical
absolutely
risk.
And even this method here, the Nord Stream, this is below the Baltic.
Below Baltic.
So this is even a greater risk here. It's below the ocean.
It is, yes, it is other area, other environment for these pipelines. But generally, every pipeline, every compressor station, every technical equipment could have this problem with some technical accidents and with blast of gas and so on. That's why we have to have diversification of roads, and now we have 3 huge roads, pipelines for transit corridors for Russian gas to Europe. First is Ukraine and Slovak gas transit corridor. Next one is pipeline Yamal, Belarus, Poland to Germany pipeline, and third is Nord Stream 1. That's why I think that design for transit for Russian Siberian gas to Europe now is very good, and thanks to these 3 independent roads, we have this diversification and security of supplies for all players on this gas market in Europe. For Russia on the one side, like supplier, like producer, and on other side for European customers.
And so Ukraine has made it a point to try to diversify, move more into renewable and sources,
yes,
with the new energy policy up to 2025. Yes. So what are you seeing with some of the changes we're looking at, as you said, with security? How strong is Ukraine's plan?
Mm-hmm. Of course, if we have topic green energy, renewable sources, we have solar,
well, we have a
wind,
mix,
and biomass. Yeah, it's 3.
Well, we have hydro. We have
and hydro, of course. Yes, hydro is most perspective for Ukraine, and not only Ukraine, but for Ukraine. Ukraine has big hydro power stations, and has potential for new hydro power station, much with higher production of electricity from hydro.
So do you see
yes,
that the mix that Ukraine has created in its energy policy is appropriate for the country, or do you see that there needs to be made some changes?
Changes, it is a very sensitive question, because again, unfortunately, now, today, green energy is not cheap. Yeah. If we have now green tariff for solar energy in Ukraine, 150 euros per megawatt, in Europe, standard price now is market price for electricity for megawatt is between 25-30 euro.
Right.
Yeah? 5 times lower. That's why I'm not sure if Ukraine customer is ready to pay so huge cost for this electricity. But we have to go step by step.
Absolutely.
Very good solution I'm from Slovakia. In Slovakia, we have very good solutions regarding using biomass for central heating system. It is a really good competitor for coal, first of all, but for gas too.
And this could be very effective in Ukraine, where
yes.
the housing sectors where they lose most energy efficiency, most is lost.
Exactly. And the most important is energy efficiency. Because in Ukraine especially, the consumption per GDP or for household sector is huge,
yes.
is several times more than is average level in Europe, and it is
maybe
most important and area for investments and for very not cheap, very cheap, but cheaper solutions than for green energy.
Absolutely.
And very quickly result, because after thermomodernization of multi-apartment building, you have really rapidly your cost and consumption of heat is going down by 50% and more. Yeah, it is great result.
The best ways to...
And it is social, very good for people, because finally people pay less money for energy. That's why it is first. It is priority. It has to be priority for Ukraine energy efficiency program, thermomodernization, modernization, multi-apartment buildings, administration buildings from state sector, municipalities, schools, kindergartens, and etc. And next one, for instance, using biomass, local biomass, forest or agro biomass,
or even trash
for central heating systems, because it is again efficiency using. It is cheaper than other hydrocarbon sources, and create new jobs. Because if you prepare biomass, you create new jobs and local jobs, and that's why, according to my opinion and my skills, from Slovakia, for instance, but other countries, Central European countries, it is the best way, the best choice for our countries and for Ukraine too, I think.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Bye.
Today we're speaking with Karel Hirman, who is the energy sector advisor to the Cabinet of Ministries here in Ukraine. Thank you very much for watching.